short season of Christmas, we hear what is essentially the third of the Christmas stories. The first story we heard from St. Luke on Christmas Eve. That's the one most of us know. That's the one that has caught on in the world, that Jesus came to be born in a manger in Bethlehem. We love that story. We do pageants and children show up in their bathrobes and put angel wings on them, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful. Whatever you can make into a pageant, you remember. The church has been doing it for hundreds of years. If you can make it a pageant, you won't forget it. My children were in pageants as various things. My middle daughter is here with us today, and her younger sister, in a somewhat conservative parish where I once was baby Jesus, because she had just been born. Do you not think I got some flack about a real baby girl? Oh, we don't do stuff like that. We don't do flack like that anymore. We love babies, girls, boys. So that's the story we all know. It's been pageantized. Now, in a few days, we'll come to the Epiphany story. That's the Christmas story out of Matthew. Now, I know we've conflated Matthew and Luke into one happy Christmas story. And pretty soon, in the Christmas story with all the shepherds in their bathrobes and, little critters around, here come the wise men from the east. Different story, different book. But it's another Christmas story. So we, in all of our wisdom, have stuck the two together as though they were the same story. So those are the two Christmas stories, one we've already heard, and one we'll hear in the Epiphany, the coming of the Magi. And today is the Christmas story that doesn't sound very Christmassy. In the beginning was the Word. Well, that doesn't sound very Christmassy, but you see, in John's understanding, this is how you begin to tell the story. By the way, Mark doesn't tell the story at all. Mark is in a hurry to get to the meat of the story. And he doesn't tell a Christmas story at all. He doesn't tell anything about Jesus being little and going to the temple. No, he jumps right into the baptism of Jesus. He's an adult. John comes later in the writings of the scriptures. He comes out of a Greek discipline. He's a sophisticate, you can tell from his writing, or we think we can, whoever John might have been. His writing is much more sophisticated than the early Gospels. And he's writing for the Greek mind, which was different from the Hebrew mind. And so he begins with, I think, one of the most profound religious and philosophical statements you can find in all of Scripture. There is no better story than this story. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and in fact the Word was God. And all things that exist were created by the Word. John associates that Word with none other than Jesus. Now let's do a little bit of theology. Or if that makes you uncomfortable, let's do a little philosophy. Or if that makes you uncomfortable, let's just have a little nap. The problem we have at the beginning of John's Gospel is that he uses a word that we can't translate. The word is, as it's used by John, is a Greek word that is not translated word. In the beginning, in Greek, in the beginning was, and here's the word, logos. Logos. John Sanford, who we're going to start studying the first Wednesday in the new year, John Sanford would often say they should have left Logos in the Bible, so then you could go down to a footnote and find out what Logos means. But instead, they tried to get the closest thing they could get to Logos, and then they said Word. And ever since then, preachers with flimsy Bibles have been saying, the Word of God. John says, in the beginning was the Word. No, that's not the Word of God. The Word of God is not the Bible. The Word of God might be found in the Bible. The Word of God, Logos, is so hard to translate that I can't do it either, but I'm going to try, of course. Logos in Greek philosophy meant something like used with God, as associated with God. Logos was something like in the mind and creative power of God. You see, in the beginning there was the mind and the creative power of God. And God moves across the abyss, moves across nothingness and brings out something. That's the energy of Logos. It's the creative power of God bringing about creation on the first day and creation of you a lot later. That's Logos energy. Now, let's go back and hear what we just read. In the beginning was the Logos, the creative energy and power of God to bring something out of nothing. No wonder they found a simpler word, but it doesn't help us understand it. So I think what John is saying is from the very beginning, the Christ energy, that loving energy, that compassionate energy that we associate with Jesus, that's the Christ energy of God. And it has existed from the beginning. From the beginning, says the book of wisdom, from the beginning I was with you. That's the voice of wisdom, the feminine name for God. And she says, from the beginning I was there. From the beginning I was with you. And now here is John saying that the Christ was with us from the beginning. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and nothing came to be that did not come from the Logos. That's what John is saying God identified in the carpenter from Nazareth. You see that? The carpenter from Nazareth, the ordinary person like us, he's a human being. Yes, he's also God-centered, but he's a human being, and somehow the creative energy of God comes into him, and he becomes not Jesus of Nazareth, but Jesus the Christ, saying that he is carrying the energy of God that has existed from before time. Now, that's only half of the amazing story. Here is Jesus taking on flesh, this creative power of God that brings about universes and stars and interstellar space and all that. That creative energy can take on flesh. Oh my gosh. Flesh like us. That's enough. But there's more. Because as you continue to read John's Gospel, Jesus is always saying, or said several times in that Gospel, as I am in God and you are in me, we are one. Now, I read that as saying Jesus understood incarnation not to end with him. Incarnation continues with God taking on the reality of what God is still creating. You know, my favorite metaphor for this is one that you artists will get, or musicians. When you're writing music or when you're doing art, you get it, you go into it, don't you? You go into what you're doing. And we can't get you out of it. We can't pull you out of it. If you hear Mozart, and if you're intelligent about music, which I'm not, you can play Mozart and I might think it's Brahms. So I'm not bragging. But if you hear Mozart and you're smart, you can say that's Mozart. Why? Because you can't get him out of it. You can't pull him out of what he created. And if you look at a beautiful piece of art, the artist is in the work. You can't get the artist out of the work. You see? Now, if you think about more lofty thought, if you believe that there's a creator God, you think you can get God out of the creation? No. Not any more than you can pull an artist out of the painting. God is in creation. And God is continuing to create. All the time. It's all around us. It's what Jesus called the kingdom of God. And where is the kingdom of God? They say in Luke 17. Where is this kingdom of God? It's all around you, Jesus says. It's in you, Jesus says. You know who else said that? Moses. This is not a New Testament idea. In Deuteronomy, Moses, who's about ready to leave the people, says, or send them on their way and get left behind, he says, the word that I have given you, you do not have to send to the mountains to find it. You don't have to go send a messenger over the sea to locate it, because I am putting it in you. God is putting it in you. God is putting the word, the law, in you. In you. I know I get a little long about this kind of thing, but for so long, it seems to me the church has allowed us to believe that God is in his heaven and we're down here, and we're trying to behave ourselves to get there. And everything, I hear Moses saying it, I hear Ezekiel saying it, I hear Jeremiah saying it. Give me a new heart, O God, write the law on my heart. I hear, and now I hear Jesus saying it. Jesus, who has taken on the flesh of the Almighty Creator God, and says to us, you too. You too. You too carry not the Word of God that the preacher gives you. You carry the Word of God that God gave you when God decided to create you. Isn't that cool? You carry the Word of God from the time God thought you up. How are you going to get rid of it? You can't. Don't try. You can't. People do try. They don't do too well. So, on this first day of Christmas, we have to remember what we learned actually Christmas night. We are the incarnation of God as well as Jesus, because Jesus pulls us in and says, you and I are one. And now we're about to have a meal in which we say, he becomes part of us and we become part of him. Can you say it any more clearly? We are one with the divine creator of all the universe. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and here we are. Amen. Amen.
What child is this who lay to rest on Mary's lap is sleeping, whom angels greet with anthems sweet, while shepherds watch our keeping? This is Christ the King, who shepherds guard and angels sing. They to bring him laud, the babe, the Son of Mary.
Let us go forth into the world rejoicing in the power of God's Spirit.
Thanks be to God.